Go ahead and call our meeting to order. Thank you again, each one, for being here tonight. And first item would be the approval of the minutes that have been previously distributed to you.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposition there. I would like to reverse the agenda, okay, and do the new business first, and then we'll talk about the old business. So, first item on our new business would be Jerry Hollensworth request a variance of 25 feet setback when the regulation calls for a 50-foot setback. Jerry, would you come to the podium and I think talk to us about this, what you're proposing there? And again, I have a little bit of a conflict of interest, so she's going your way, so I'm going away. So, take over for a few minutes. It's perfect.
That's fine.
Okay. What we're doing is the ABS Center is interested in replacing their existing facility, their existing building there on the corner of North Washington Street and University. So, with that in mind, we're looking to build a new building behind the existing one and then tear down the existing building after the new one is constructed. And what we're asking for tonight is a variance on that setback from North Street as we detailed on our sketches here. As I understand, the ordinance would require to have a 50-foot setback all the way around for such a purpose as this. This is R2 zoning. And what we're looking to do is relax that 50-foot setback line to a 25-foot setback line, which is the normal setback for residential, except this is, again, more public type construction for the ABS Center. As I've tried to show on my sketch also, the sort of the basis for my request is we'll still be quite a way, we'll be improving, I think, the setback, because as you can see, that ABS Center is quite up on the street. It's almost right on the street. So when we're all said all done, we'll be in much better shape afterwards because our new building will be further away from the street than the existing building. And I have shown on there where the 25-foot setback line would be and how our building approximates that. And then you can see also the original 50-foot setback line for comparison. So the existing building on your print is shaded in gray at the upper right corner of the drawing. And we've taken the liberty of darkening in the proposed new building perimeter of that footprint so that you can see that more clearly.
Anybody got any questions?
Make a motion that we approve this variance for 25-foot setback.
Have a second? All in favor, say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Let's see if you can get that quick, so.
Our next item of business is Mr. T.G. Connelly at First Presbyterian Church, the chair of the Long Range Planning Committee, request a variance to build a bell tower with a height of 51 feet. Yes, sir.
Correction, that is 56 feet. If you will, on the original application, I misadded, but it is 56 total height.
T.G., would you mind coming to the podium and discussing that? We do have, T.G. has given us basically a picture of what's going on there. And I would assume, is it much in front of the sanctuary building toward Jackson Street?
It will be approximately 16 feet in front of the sanctuary.
Do you know what the setback would still be once that 16 feet
I
comes
think
out?
the setback is now still have, over 60 feet.
So is it gonna be sitting in between the two buildings, the sanctuary and that?
The, church has not really approved that design that you have a copy of. It will probably be similar to that, um, but it will be in front of the sanctuary. And the variance we're requesting is not a setback, but a height variance, because there's a 35-foot height limitation in that zone. We'd like to push it up another 21 feet to 56 feet.
You anticipate the final location being somewhat like you've got here, being between the existing monument sign and the building?
I did not have a copy of this for everybody, but it will probably be in front of, directly in front of the sanctuary.
And that would put it well behind, or further from the street than the monument sign.
Yes, yes.
TG, on this sketch, you're saying that the height of the bell tower may be approximately 18 feet higher than the sanctuary?
The sanctuary is about 34 feet high, so we'll get there another 20 feet roughly. And the intent is to install an electronic pylon similar to what First Baptist and Second Baptist have.
I have one question, you can explain all that long?
If you'd like it.
No.
Move to approve the height variance, 56 feet.
Second.
Yes, second. Back. Yeah, right? Okay. Any questions? Observations? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The old business that we had has been discussion of manufactured homes. And we have had at least 2 different meetings, I think, that were these discussions about what to do, where to place them. And I think we'd like to begin that discussion tonight again and try to come to some conclusions if we could. So, Christine, since I know more about what your thoughts are, would you mind just kind of talking through what you're thinking at this point, or what you need to present?
It seems in discussion with, come on, put your hands on, like, calm down, I just. We've had some discussions over, the mobile home zoning, and we had areas that need to be rezoned. So it seems like the easiest solution is if we change in our playbook that mobile homes go to R3, and then we would only have to rezone about 3 or 4 areas in here and make them R2. So on your map, where it's R3 and goes up into Lucy Circle, we would make it an R2. And then that would also go towards Central Elementary, where Buffington, Bessie, over there, and the idea is but to make that R2, to make part of, I think it's Jefferson and Washington, R2. And I couldn't remember, Colin, if you had another area that you thought should be R2 or not, like the area up in Colquitt, College View, down there.
That's all too many.
It's R2, yeah, and that's okay to leave it that way for you?
You got the Hines and Perry.
Right. That's where I put a question. I wasn't sure if we wanted to incorporate that into the R2, your call for this. But it would make the zoning simpler that we had talked about doing if we put the mobile homes in R3 and we just rezone a couple of areas, making them R2. Therefore, you can have single-family dwellings there on a little smaller lot for first home buyers. And
Wanting to go into a R, in a C2 or 3 location is to follow an R2 designation. With that statement, you would exclude that. Okay, just making sure I follow.
because we
There's a lot
basically,
of, exclusions that we're talking about, but I
Right.
think she's trying to put the idea out here, a simple idea that R3 basically is that boundary with some exceptions, okay? Therefore, many things would change, we understand that, okay? But we'd have to go back and look at each item and try to pick up that exclusion at that particular point.
it would unify also the area that we've been talking about is split, where you got one side is one thing and the other side is another thing. And this way, we could unify the whole thing into one, and that way we would quit running into this every other lot kind of thing. And so R3 makes it where there's plenty of really good areas for them. Just change a couple R3s in the center of town to R2.
The R3 that's north of, Stadium Drive, where we're talking about Air and Hines and Apple, there are some mobile homes that there now. So,
Well, that's what we had talked about too previously, was that mobile homes that are there now, it
grandfathered in.
stays that way until they move, and once they're moved off, they will never again do that for that.
Okay, that's what you want, that's what you're thinking.
That's what I'm proposing here.
Okay, to try to state what you just did, in, respectively, every, R3 could have a mobile home unit on it, okay? Except for the area that is, I'm gonna say north of the junior high, and east of the junior high, that is zoned R3 specifically now, and you're recommending that those go to R2,
Right.
okay?
I'll follow along, Dudley.
Okay, go back to Jefferson and, Madison, Jefferson and Washington,
Right.
and then up where Apple Street is, up through there. Are you recommending that go to, or remain R3? You're saying anything north of McNeil, I have no problem with that remaining R3.
Right. If, my concern was on Jefferson and Washington area, there is an area that has a lot of historic homes. Older homes that are nice homes, that people are still using and they're nice and whatever, and, to keep that kind of, the heart of Magnolia,
Preserve that.
to preserve it, yes. If we could change that to R2, would be nice.
To try to clarify that,
We can stop at Stadium if you'd like, just in that one little section there.
and say, all of that, let's say that, whatever that is,
Well, they're basically,
but all of that would go to R2, right?
Yes, except for what's already C2.
So west of Washington, kind of east of Vine, south of Stadium, north of North Street, would go to R2.
Right. And that would connect up to the R2 that's right up above them.
Yes. And the northeast of that.
Right.
Again, David, kind of the intent here again was to, we're excluding the industrial end, okay? Again, we're saying this is exclusive, R3.
and then
We've got an
R3s
ordinance that we would like to
out.
discuss, just
Since
saying,
C2
we
or
really, then, okay, if mobile home goes there, then what restrictions will there be?
On the tree, but we're gonna have to
Come on.
change it yes to a no. In any other area you see it, you can.
Basically, you think that
This was the main area of conflict, and that's all.
right, so
It's just there, because it doesn't make any sense with the rest. So if we rezone that to R2 and move the mobile home part of mobile home out, then we don't run into this problem that we have anymore.
Well, I'll start by saying, if you follow the Linda Peach area of town, it does make sense to extend that on into an R2 from C3 to, R3 to an,
Yeah, R1 is
yes, that's a perfect scenario. And then move to the west just a little bit into the boundaries of Buffington, Jeanette, and all of that. I personally think that makes more sense to go to an R2 anyway, because that is an extension of an arm of an R1, and you jump total classifications, which, in my opinion, should never been jumped like that, but that's neither here nor there. Continue on to Jefferson, Washington, McNeil area.
those are the old homes.
That is an extension of your Washington Copwood Terrace, but I would recommend to go ahead and incorporate Apple, Hines, and Hare, just so that you don't have an R3 stuck in the middle
Right.
of all of that, to make
I
the
think that
map
was her,
flow.
I think
That
that was
was
her
her.
thought, okay?
And now you unify them,
It would be by the map.
and it would make the neighborhoods flow more, and we wouldn't have this one piece here, one piece there thing that jumps it up a little bit. So, that's, those. Okay.
Just a comment here, it would seem like almost everything south of Main or Union, really, they only eligible R3. You eliminate everything north of them.
Right, and that's, well, you got one up here,
You have one out Dudley Road,
right,
North Dudley Road, excuse me,
right, and you got one here on the other side of the nursing home,
west of Vine.
right. And then you have it on the outskirts on West
Oh, R3,
Green.
yeah, oh, okay, across the bypass.
Yeah, you see a lot of them on the, more on the out, and then you have them down here on the one up Kelso. That one takes down. And that one little section, I don't understand that.
I don't understand that either.
It should be R2 all the way up to that number 6. If you look out on Bel
West
Air,
of Regency Circle.
Bel Air and Apache, and go up Regency Circle, and then the 6, see that, it's the R3.
That R3 up there, that little
Right.
cut out there.
Right.
What street that's on? I have no idea why it's like that.
So I would say the recommendation is make it to R2, because it's, why not?
I'm not mistaken, I don't know that he was, but I know Charles Tripp feels like he was instrumental in drawing the current zoning suggestions. He might be a source of information as to why something one way or the other,
Well,
if
it's,
he wanted to
doesn't,
say, you
doesn't
know.
really matter because he's not here, but it does matter that that's one little piece that should be tied into this.
I don't know why that's R2,
It's because of the size of the lots, those are single family, smaller lots.
I'm wondering if that piece of property right there did not have something to do with the school. Because that's really in essence of where the old horse barn was located,
Kind of south of.
north of Marie Baines' house.
Right in that corner.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it a tree line?
Isn't there a residence there right there?
that'd be east.
That's where Marie Baines lived.
Marie Ebanks' house off of Regency Circle, right in that corner, which would be north of this, her driveway sits north of the street, which would put her in the R3 zone. But that house and lot is
Part two.
at least,
But you got a couple of houses there.
We may have two that incorporate that, but it's mostly her residence.
it would really behoove that to R2 the minimum, or if that is a question
That could be the old one.
of the old barn, why not continue it as a P1?
That could be the old one. On the other one, Chris, were you talking about on the east of Union also? There are three days.
It's in the middle of C2s, and, I'm open to suggestions on that.
The thing, the item that concerns me is there is, that's just south of the junior high and central school. That's on the south side of the street. And
Then my
that really needs to
preference
be
would,
residential.
my preference would be that it would go to R2 then, because to make it, good around the schools, I know we've had, businesses that have come into town, and when they've gone by the schools and run into some of that, they won't come back out.
And really looking at that, the P1 property, which is the school, would have been set in the middle of that current zone. North of it is you're proposing to go to R2, and it was R3, so it looks like that
Wasn't
big
it?
picture,
That whole zone.
you would have to include the whole zone.
So you just drop down and make that R2.
Yes.
Okay. Anywhere else y'all see?
Yeah.
You want something?
So, would you like to make or would you like to make a motion?
Sure.
And if so,
Okay. I would like to make a motion that we, relegate, mobile homes in a district of R2, R3, or C2, or mobile home parks. And then to unify the city map, where we've had conflict in there, to make, several R3 zones that are around from the junior high on up to Dudney, over to Jefferson, to Stadium, that are R3, and they're rezoned into R2s for single-family homes, smaller lots. And then in the Green Book, we would change the S to no
under R2.
under R2.
That's a,
That's a mouthful.
the lady said that, was that said, okay.
And we have discussed the designated area we want to change to R2. But the motion is to change the R3 areas that have been specified by the commission to R2. Mobile homes will be changed to R3. And C2, I'm sorry.
With the
And that's
specific
not a
of
change in
mobile
the book. There are mobile home parks.
Mobile home
They
parks,
could go into C2 today.
right.
Okay, so she's saying we're not changing
No,
that, but we are changing our
you understand that?
twos to say no.
Right. No mobile homes in R2, only in R3, and the existing mobile homes, once they are moved, they can't be moved, another one cannot be moved.
Dave, do we have to change our wording in our C2 zone? Did you say C2 refers to mobile homes?
Well,
Back
if
to
you,
the R3 zoning?
you would have to change, because the book says if a resident wishes to go in a commercial zone, it follows R2 guidelines. Well, your R2 guidelines is eliminating mobile homes as a single residence.
And
So
the parks is
you
a whole
would
nother
not have
issue.
to.
So no single residences in the C2, just mobile?
Mobile home parks, that's what they're gonna do.
Again, that's what the
Repeat that? I might can even get free permit. Did you?
Okay,
It's not my usual wordiest one. You want me to make it clearer?
You're not
No.
separating
Thank you.
the two, the changing from the R2 to R3 as one thing, and then the rezoning as another thing. Instead of lumping them together.
Make two different motions?
why?
Yeah.
There's something easier.
Got it.
Because
I like the holistic
The holistic approach?
deal.
It's easier to
It's
do
a,
it.
it's a motion, okay,
Yeah.
now again, if you wanna, amend it, we can vote on that, but we do have a motion on the floor. Do you have a second? Sorry. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, again, I think it really is open for discussion. You know, Zach has, a valid point of looking at two different issues. I would hate to pass one and then possibly not pass the other. That would be my thought.
Well, my thought is, there's actually one thing. One thing, it's actually one thing, you're rezoning and you're just designating one to be in R three.
Joe had some thoughts, I think, about this. Are there any conflicts that you see in what you were thinking prior to your motion?
No, I wouldn't want to propose the rezoning because I don't want to put us in a situation of having to deal with somebody coming in saying we're trying to zone out mobile homes. If we just, my proposal would be to just relegate mobile homes strictly to R3 period.
Which is what they are. But C two is
Well, right now they
parks.
can do R2 and R3.
No,
Yes, they can.
Yes.
oh, right now.
Yeah, right now, they can.
But we're looking at changing that,
Right.
same thing. What you,
So we've got two, almost the same comment here, okay, of looking at two different issues. Okay.
I kind of wanted to second what Joe said for a little bit different reason, and also get an opportunity to explain my vote ahead of time. It probably would be against it. I think I fully understand what the effort is, and I fully personally agree with it. But and as you may see, I'm more concerned about the appearance issue. I think that we're likely to stumble over some problems and open ourselves up for some problems when we deal with our interior mobile homes with the zoning rather than, I feel like we've been told we have full rights to do some things to control the appearance and the placement of them. I just kind of feel like we may run into some legal problems and some challenges by rezoning.
well, in addressing that, the requirement for the mobile homes is a total another motion issue. That's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah.
And this doesn't affect what is there now.
I understand.
So the can of worms for those people that are there right now.
I'm good.
That's a great thought.
If we can split it, then we take care of one distinct issue, and then we deal with the one that's a little bit more hot.
What is the hottest area?
Rezoning the R3s and then we'll turn to R2s.
Well, if you don't, then it brings you back to the problem issue we had in the beginning.
Again, I think there's continuation of that thought to do what you're asking, it's just looking at it in a split matter.
Right.
Okay, you're saying restricted to R three, fine, then rezone some of the R threes to R two.
Right.
So he's basically splitting that, I think, to, maybe clarify. Is that a good word?
Yep.
Clarify. Again, we have a motion and a second now, but I would, if someone would like to amend that, okay, to say something else, I think we can discuss that.
I would need to amend the motion to strike out the rezoning and just leave the limit mobile homes to an R3 designation only.
Okay,
mobile homes and had discussions, and I've looked at other cities. I want you to know that you're not moving them out of town. What some cities actually did as a whole was took their zoning map and actually redrew it completely and added what they would call an R5 zone. And an R5 is where they moved their mobile homes to. So essentially, I think what Christine's trying to say is we are reclassifying our mobile homes as an R3, where other cities call it an R5, and grouping it all together. It's not out of the ordinary of what other cities have done, and that's what I want to say.
And my point is, if we pass the amendment and we pass, then the motion is on the table, we immediately follow up with another motion to rezone the R3s to R2s as Christine has proposed. Personally, I'll vote for it. But if an issue comes up and we're challenged, then we would only be challenged on the rezoning, not limiting the mobile homes to an R3. We have two separate issues, they're completely separate. If we're challenged, we would only be challenged on one. And it wouldn't
Give
be,
you a tool at that point in the mediation, at that point. Timeframe there, that you can, so in cleaner words, the motion is basically to restrict the placement of mobile home into R3 zone. Okay. Any question about that motion? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition?
No.
Okay, one opposition. All right, that's passed. Now,
Now, I'll propose another motion.
yes, ma'am.
All right. Motion number 2 is that the designated areas of R3 that we have discussed in here and pinpointed, that we would rezone those as R2. It will unify the neighborhoods that are now split. It will unify the, whatever. Make an article. Okay. The areas we talked about as R3, that we rezone to R2.
Okay. Is everybody clear on those areas we've discussed? And at this moment, I think you have not said anything related to where Marie Baines lives. Okay? That was not in your motion to begin with.
No.
It wasn't in this motion. So I'm okay with that, moving forward.
Because we do not know really what that
Why?
is
Okay,
for lights there.
okay.
I think we should list which ones we're talking about. So that when this is getting redrawn later,
Okay.
there's no questions being asked about it.
Can we clarify?
If I may give you some general borders related to that,
Can we put it in somewhere?
sir?
Can we clarify it in somewhere?
Sure.
We will need some type of border for the surveyor to actually get this done. And I want to be known that whenever he does this, it will go off of coordinates and not just land points. So if you're using a street as a reference, it may be the east or west side or north or south side of the street.
Yeah, that is the line, basically.
in R, then on the R 12 is R 3, section 12 is R 3. Jeanette, Buffington, Windsor Circle, that's gonna be rezoned to R 3.
Everything in
I mean,
R
R2.
and everything in section 12.
Right.
Turn the R3 to the R2.
That's
Yes.
correct, that's correct.
Yes.
Is there anything in any other section that we talked about that's
There's a little area south of section 12, which is in section 13,
On Union,
really south of Union Street.
right,
So
by the junior high.
this is staying right there.
So the only really part we would say that area zoned presently R3 south of Union
So
Street.
it joins into section 13.
Right.
Right.
It's going to section 12.
Will be R2.
But section 12. Okay.
Or two.
And then, on section 7, this drops into 15 here, 11, and
That's it.
Right.
We know what, David's got to come sit there.
Now, I wanna make sure, it's,
It's what? Kosher?
is that the section number, or is that township range, all of that?
What is that number?
Section 12, I think it is a section. North section. Say that again?
That's
Okay, I think you're right.
There's a section number.
Section,
Okay.
yes.
The area that is up at, on Teal, Mallard, are we leaving that R 3? It doesn't really connect any neighborhood.
Tell me where we're at. Oh, Mallard.
Right.
There's some,
I mean, it really doesn't connect anything.
you leave that all through?
Yes. It flows with the outside
I
R 3.
think you are, because there's, to the northwest of that, there's still some more R2.
Right, which I think would be better. That's good.
And we're not making any exceptions to what was stated.
No.
Okay?
No. Just clarifying to Joe, the
situations here where you've got a home now, you say it's torn down, someone wants to put new in there, but suddenly it won't fit on the lot because the lot specified right now designed for R3, and now it's for R2, so that would probably build in something new there.
As far as a mobile home now, or are you just
Just
talking about a
anything.
single-family dwelling?
Do you not think that possibly if they bought that lot, they're gonna do like most homeowners do when they're gonna build, they find a plan that fits for them?
But I think it is probable that happens, but I think we'll have to take that as a step-by-step basis. If someone comes before us and asks for that variance at that point in time, that would be the remedy, I guess, I think. But to state and go through all those scenarios right now, I think would be absolutely impossible.
I'm just saying, it seems like potentially there could be some more issues down the road, all to avoid this one issue, which isn't gonna be solved anytime soon. These manufactured houses aren't going anywhere, for no telling how long.
I think they'll be more popular as time goes on. But again, I think we're trying to go to the point where we are designating areas for that. I think we're achieving that goal. Yes, we're probably making some more issues because of these regulations we're looking at, but I think we'll just have to take those issues one step at a time as we move forward.
It's the same as when we get mobile homes wanting to be on a variance for their lot, but there's a mobile home right there. We run into some type of thing.
I'm not trying to skirt what you're saying, but I just don't know how to resolve that without just an exceptional amount of detail. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any rezoning? Any other issues? All in favor, raise your right hand. Are there any opposed? No opposed. Motion passes. Okay. Our last item that I think we need to discuss, Ken, would be the situation towards a tool and what regulations we would have when a mobile home is placed in its proper location, et cetera. There was a sample of an ordinance given to us some months ago, and I think you had an opportunity to look at this, and the question would be just to discuss this at this particular moment in time, if we feel comfortable with it, move forward with it. Okay? So, we're open for discussion at this point on the sample of the ordinance that you have before you, and any exceptions or things that may be there.
Wayne, I took this because it was very, very vague and there were a lot of markups on it. And rewrote it, included, give us a little bit, something better to start with and mark up.
Okay?
I rewrote it with anything in there as it was in there, with things that questions that tried to incorporate what we had somewhat discussed, what had been brought up, and of course some of what I think it ought to be. But it's just a little cleaner and a little more complete than this sample ordinance. It doesn't exactly, it changes a few things, and it adds some of the things that were marked out, but I don't really know why some of them were marked out.
Some of them were marked out, I believe, we weren't sure where, if some of them faced where they had the front yard facing the street, and then some were, if we apply it to this, do we apply it to pier and beam homes?
Yep.
Some, I think that's, some of these are back there.
Well, y'all might, like I said, just give us something to start with and mark up. There are a few things we hadn't been discussed, I don't think, but,
Age, would you
well,
address the age?
I put in here 10 years prior to the date of the request, but I also think that down at the bottom, you notice where I put variances for as will be installation. I think if somebody comes to the city inspector and says, this is a 12-year-old mobile home and it's kind of beat up, but this is what I'm going to do to it if you'll give me the variance to bring it up to an equivalent age, that's something be, reduced to writing in the ordinance, and the flat roofs versus the pitched roofs, that seemed to me to be an issue. It's my understanding that if generally you stay with a 10-year-old or less mobile home, you're likely to get a pitched roof, but, I mean, we don't prohibit flat roof houses. And so, and also on the underpinning, I cut that back since the Mobile Home Manufacturers Association wants us to be real careful about not making changes that make the home not a reasonably priced alternative to a stick-built home. That underpinning would only need to be around the front and two ends if they want to leave the back open. It seemed to me like where this sample ordinance recommended a 6x6 porch, that it's really just as easy, if you got to put it on there yourself, if it doesn't come with a mobile home, it's just as easy to make a 4x8 porch than a 6x6 porch. It uses your materials more efficiently, and I don't see the need necessarily for the cover on it to have to be 4x8. It could be smaller, or just a good sturdy porch with a good sturdy steps and rail on it.
The only question about the 4x8, again, if you're giving them that parameter, if the 8 came out from the front door and it's only 4 feet wide, really have difficulty opening approximately 3-foot door with that. And you're leaving yourself 6 inches on one side and 6 on the other, your back or not. So the width of that, I'm just saying that's a little bit of an issue.
It
Okay?
could,
So 4x8 to me, I'm not real excited about, okay?
Are these, is any of this, being applied to existing homes, or is this just new homes coming in? I'm not sure.
Isn't that right? Are you wanting to back check some existing mobile homes?
Bring them up.
I'm gonna be honest with you, in the discussion I've had with Ronnie Bell, I do not think we can make this retro.
my thinking is not
difficulty there.
proposed being, it's going back.
Okay.
But at some point, the ones that are there are gonna fall in, and they will come under it at that point. And the other thing I noticed on this old one, the 20-foot clearance on each end had been marked through. But if we should require them to face the street, then the clearance on each end would be an issue. And for a lot of purposes, 10 feet on each end would be fine, but I do notice a note on there that I think we need some input from the fire department. We need to go back to that 20, or if we want to leave it where the drive, they could have a drive on each end, go around to the back of the parking instead of the front, 10 feet. Would be enough for that, but for firefighting,
That's less than our stated offset.
I think it probably is.
10
Well,
feet
that
is
would be
your
a little-
stated setbacks on your side,
On the side.
property lines in residential neighborhoods.
What is?
10 feet, 15 on the rear.
Well, I was just thinking if it was a little bit less even, that would be a little bit of capitulation to let them fit on the lot. The main concerns I have heard in talking about this is folks that are concerned that either have a smaller lot or the lots that we might make of no value by requiring the mobile home to go to the front, face the front. There are some that would be like that. And I don't know if it's too little to put an appropriate size mobile home. I don't know if it's big enough to build a stick-built home on either. But
There are two things that I would take a little bit of, or want more discussion on. Really, there are a number of these mobile homes that you enter about halfway down them, okay? And for them to face the street would be really difficult. That lot would have to be 100 feet long or more, okay, to make yours. So I think that's something that I question. I don't know that I really demand that, okay, personally. That front door face the street. The next thing would be item number 6, the wheels and tongues should be removed. Again, that seems to be, if that actually is going to be a mobile home later and be pulled off to that site, you just destroyed all that possibility, because some of those things have to be
do not see that as an issue.
The front door, I think the main thing is that they have, they have a nice front entrance, whether it faces the street or it's on the side, depending on the lot. Isn't it just that it be something other than a rope that you swing into the front door with? I mean,
I know when we first started discussing this, and I brought you pictures of sample mobile homes in town, the ones that faced street oriented were nicer aesthetically to the town. But you're absolutely right, as you cannot, on every lot in this town, you cannot place them aesthetically to the street because they just won't fit. So,
I would say most of them that we probably approved over the last 5 to 10 years, have really gone the depth of the lot, and perpendicular to the street. Again, I see that as a pretty big hindrance. I don't care if you're lot 65 by 100, it meets the requirements, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's gonna be a real difficult thing for someone to place.
and I would be more comfortable with striking number one, with, although it does make it more appealing to the street, but in opposed to that, make sure we have built-in porches to offset the look of just a door on the side of a building.
You get the appearance of an entrance.
I think number one, as I understood it, it's a personal preference of mine, but I think it was just generally as a protection for the neighborhood and the other owners of site-built homes there that are, because some of these R3 areas where we're permitting are primarily site-built homes, and some of them are pretty nice. And that was the only thinking there, is just to have it conform to the neighborhood more, is the reason for the front. And, of course, when you start putting one that won't fit in there sideways on there, you also, well, I know we still have minimal clearance and minimum size, but you end up with no room for driveways and no room for anything else. But that's the reason for number one. It's not something I'm going to lose any sleep over.
on number 3, can we make it a lot more specific in that they park in the designated parking and not all over the lawn, everywhere?
I think that's is actually already a law.
It's a vague ordinance, which I believe these, if we make these for these, it applies to neighborhoods according to that dude that was here last.
If I may, I want to talk about number 3, because that comment in general is not only going to affect mobile homes, but it is going to affect your stick-built homes.
Right.
Christine is right that the current rules we have about parking is very vague. We can't do what this comment says because you cannot base it on whether it is a 3 or fewer bedrooms, because we already have that designated in the book. Now, we can change the book. My question about it more specifically is the word paved.
Which says their minimum paving material surface shall be gravel.
Sir?
It says that the minimum,
Okay, I missed that, so that,
I was wondering that myself. Most people are not gonna pave out
No, they're
asphalt.
not.
that's exactly right.
But it does address that.
But can we address the issue of parking in that area and not on the street? And
You can address it, but you have to, when you address it, it has to be across the board.
right?
Oh, I agree.
So it wouldn't necessarily just apply to manufacturing. It would kind of be a separate issue, separate for all housing rather than just manufacturing. What authority do you have now to enforce where there's a concrete driveway and people pull out in the front yard, park 4 or 5 cars in the front yard?
To my knowledge, the city of Magnolia does not have an ordinance about parking on grass or in front of it.
It has something, but it is very vague. Because we
Correct.
looked at it.
And then you have to limit, is it permanent parking, is it temporary parking? some bigger cities are getting very specific with their parking agreements, and Magnolia's not there.
I mean, you know, if they're there, say overnight, it's not a big deal, but when
Every
they're there
day.
and the grass is brown underneath, they've
So
been there
there's
too
a mud
long.
hole in the yard. Yeah.
Right.
As far as the number 6 of winter zone removed, I would think that would be something we would leave up to David if it had to damage the mobile home and the owner didn't wanted to leave them on there to keep it mobile, that certainly wouldn't be a problem. If it could be removed, I would think there might not be anything to be dealt with there because I think the owner would want it removed anyway. But if it can be removed and put back, then I don't see anything wrong with requiring that. If it can't, if David determines it can't without.
I mean, David's convinced us that that's pretty normal.
It is pretty normal, and if I remember right,
I'm okay with that.
under the Arkansas mobile home and RV park regulations, that is also a stipulation in there, of which y'all adopted.
And as far as those others, you noticed there were A through J or something like that, and other miscellaneous things that needed to be checked out before the mobile home came in. I just broke those into 4 that seemed to me like would be good to have inspected before, but you know where the mobile home is gonna be, so those are gonna be subjective anyway. David's not gonna go to Greenbrier to inspect a used mobile home somebody's
Well,
bringing.
isn't it if it's 10 years or younger, you don't have to inspect them, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Now, Mr. Harper alluded to this last time too, is the mobile homes fall under a set of guidelines by the federal government. I believe it was FEMA or FHA, one or the other.
Acting 264.
Right. Whenever that mobile home comes, myself or any other city inspector is not allowed to go in that mobile home and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, because they are built to those specifications. We have to go.
Stop you right there and
Sure.
answer the question. Was my understanding under question that was something coming from the manufacturer and being installed new, but that regulation had no influence over Joe Smith wanting to move a 45-year-old mobile home to a lot here on Main Street, that we could clearly designate and have some say-so over the condition of a private individual buying, moving his own, or one that's not coming in brand new.
Now we'll have to say that's your ongoing question, because I don't know. I know where I was going with that statement is.
Well, we had the gentleman here that
Uh-huh.
had one he wanted to move, and I think I asked him if these requirements that you could not override the federal requirements.
Mr. Jones is a fairly new mobile home.
Yeah, but I think he said that those only applied to a new manufactured home. But my only point was, some of these things could be checked before it got there, but some of them are not, you can't inspect them. The reason I moved E through J into a category that would be inspected, because you can't inspect most of those things until it gets there. And some of them could be good when it's sitting wherever it is and not be good when it gets on site. Just a little detail.
I hate to bring it up, but are we gonna address the parking on Be clear, Earth? Or not? Just remain vague?
Motion.
Said there's not a lot we can do,
For
it's
now.
take it across the board.
For now. Again, I think you really need to look at stick-built, you need to look at everything that's happening in the city.
Right.
When you.
And that's where I was,
Okay.
I was gonna go with comment, item number 4 on Les's agenda here. The crawl space of the homes must be shielded by continuous underpinning of color and matching materials for walls in the front and both ends. I do agree that it does need to be underpinning, and of similar color, but we must include that comment to reflect any new pier and beam houses or any houses to be moved.
That's what that guy made.
You talking about single family even?
Yes.
Mhm.
Would stick.
Right.
It's stick. it's off the ground, you must include it,
And we should.
and we
Right.
should, you're exactly right.
Okay, the preface to this though says a manufactured home, okay? So that's a whole nother item that needs to be included somewhere else, right? Okay, I don't have any disagreement
No, I'm
with
saying
it.
we can include it here,
Yeah,
but we also must look at it on stick-built homes as
And
well.
that is
Great
what that
idea.
gentleman said,
Great
is
idea.
anything we do here for this has
Must,
to be done for stick.
that's right,
We can't pick on mobile homes is what you're saying.
that's exactly right.
We can't have a pyramid house with no underpinning and say it's okay when we're making mobile homes.
Correct.
exactly.
And it won't apply to what is currently in place, but it would apply to new construction or moved stick-built homes.
It shouldn't be too difficult to address. I think it would be better to, rather than here and somewhere else, to scratch it here and make it an overall requirement that applies here. If anybody wants to be concerned about us picking on mobile homes, then it would be clear that it
The
was not a.
government said we can.
I disagree. I think we need to include it in this, but I think we need to immediately, if not this month, next month,
Pull it over there.
pick up that as a part of our agenda, okay? All right, now, I'm gonna move on to number 5, okay? I'm gonna try to restate that a little bit. Unless a built-in porch is provided by the manufacturer, the front door of the home shall have a covered porch and landing no smaller than 6 by 6 or a minimum of 36 square feet. Okay?
How many, 36 square feet?
Therefore, 6 by 6. That's their problem. They better be excluded.
Now, can you word that one more time?
Okay. Does somebody know y'all don't find them all? 5 by 7.33.
Minimum is 6 by 6, right? 36
No,
square feet.
no, I said it could be, yes, okay,
Minimum
minimum,
36
fine.
square feet.
minimum. Then, if we said square feet, then it really doesn't matter. You're
Right.
right, it gets squirrely.
Minimum 36 square feet.
Somebody will end up doing it 3 by 12.
That's right.
Joe?
They will.
You're the one that brought it up when you thought that
They'll
54
wanna walk
by
out
8
that door and have
perpendicular.
a long one running down the whole
I've
front.
got an inspector that will stop that monkey business.
If it's in there as or 36 square feet, you can't stop it.
I
So,
will,
how would you like to state this then, Joe?
6 by 6.
6 by 6, does it matter?
I mean, if y'all don't want to go down, if they want to walk down one,
So
go for it.
it's just some, it'll be the length of their mobile home.
It'll look awful odd.
I don't know how you could.
And that's kind of why we're addressing the look, so to me, if you got a 3 by 12 porch,
You wanna say 6
who
by 6
cares if it has
period?
underpinning, it's
6
ugly
by 6
anyway.
minimum.
Minimum. And then I extend with at least one handle.
At least 6 foot wide, but
Okay. What's the observations on the rest of the list? Are we close? Now, let's go back to number 3.
Did we scratch it?
Mentally, I did.
Yes.
One question I've got is there is no minimum size requirement
Size to what?
of the mobile home.
Oh,
The single ordinance that we looked at from Taylor had a minimum size of 672 square feet.
67.
Do they make one any smaller than that?
That was the small single right there.
Less than that.
about 40 feet, is about as short as they come in. Unless you're talking travel trailer.
What do we have in the road?
if I may, the book does not specify housing requirements in different zones. It specifies lot requirements. But I understand what you're saying, and I will tell you that there, if you drive living dwellings.
Alrighty.
So, but we do not currently have a specification on how big a house must be on a lot in town. So I'm not sure we can specify how big or small a mobile home can be.
That's a legal,
That's exactly.
it really is a legal
Well, but
question.
you said that's a storage building.
So you put that for a minute?
Yeah, but
And cut a window.
Lord have mercy, I know they've done that in El Dorado, inside the city limits. So
That was my thinking having, not seeing anything wrong with the facing the street. But if you've got an 80-foot lot and it's got to have 10 feet on each end, then you put it's just not eligible for anything bigger than a 60-foot long mobile home. If it's bigger, it takes a bigger mobile home. If it's smaller, it allows a smaller mobile home. Now, I don't know how small they make a regular manufactured home, and I'm hoping that we're not including recreational vehicles
No,
in this.
no,
But Lex,
manufactured home.
we're gonna have some lots in the city that are 60 feet wide by 100 feet deep. We don't want a 40-foot long
we
mobile
have
home.
many in this town that are
I
50 feet
understand
wide.
we have some of them.
50-foot lots, okay? So,
What would you have to propose?
be a little more specific, no? Talking about number one?
Oh, minimum square footage.
Oh, the minimum square footage.
If it's not.
Minimum square footage. I mean, if it don't fit, it don't fit. And they have to come before you for a variance.
I don't
That's
wanna
it
go
with
there.
anything.
I'd rather not go there. I agree, we're open to some issues there, but I think if you're restricting that, then you should restrict everything else.
I think
You
number
would rather
one,
not go there.
I would rather not give a minimum square footage requirement for manufactured homes.
and as far as number one goes, I don't think we have to say it best street, but just that it have a front door that is appealing under the rest of the 6x6 minimal porch thing.
Way
Okay,
too bad.
something other than, 3 cement steps and a door.
We're saying it has to have a porch. I think that's got all.
I think that's.
So number one, just take that off. Because it doesn't matter if it faces the street or not.
Exactly.
Right,
I'm scratching number one.
okay.
Starting with number two, went to number three, and basically scratched all of that related to the bedrooms.
Right.
And
You just,
Number two is already stated.
Okay, got it.
number three, you just only parking for 2 automobiles, no matter whether it's a 5-bedroom mobile home or whatever.
That's it.
Or at least two.
Can be a triple wide. In two spaces, they gotta have at least two.
For a single-family dwelling, which is essentially what a manufactured home is, 2 side-by-side parking spaces for each dwelling unit, plus storage space for 2 more on driveway.
That was the one that I told you, that's the only place that deals with parking.
But it just says space, well, don't even have to park there.
Huh. And I don't even
But
mind
that
parking in
is-
the street, but on the front yard, I just don't get
And
it.
that is stated under section 23-156, page number 40 in the back of the green book. Single-family dwelling parking.
On, on that one ordinance that he just went off on about the parking, is there not, I don't mean to be ugly, but is there not any way to say not parking on the front lawn? You can't ever address that one thing.
You can address it. I'm asking you not to address it at this time.
But that's fine,
Okay.
but you also have to address the parking.
But it's a citywide situation. I mean, it's every home, every lot, every space.
Right,
okay?
which
It's
is.
really outside tonight's discussion.
Right, but
Thank you.
also, your description of parking
matches this.
But he's got two added behind it, which is,
That's assuming that they could have a garage, seems like, plus two more on the driveway.
right. And this is just saying two only.
But the
At a minimum.
problem we have in this town, in my opinion, is not parking spaces. It is parking habits.
True. I'm not the only one that might be,
Thank you.
I'm having mercy on him, not
Four,
gonna do it.
you on four?
We're actually,
I just,
do
three's
you
gonna
have any
stay.
question about four?
Yes, I think we get underpin that. If these things are, end to
On
end.
all four sides?
Right.
If
Instead
they're
of
end
front
to
and
end,
both
otherwise
sides?
you're gonna see the back.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
If you're gonna allow them to pull an end in, it would definitely need to be, I would think.
yeah, that's,
All sides. Okay.
I guess my only concern about that number 4 is it says color and material matching the walls. Color, and, I mean, we all know that there's gonna be a variety, hopefully, these going, would adhere to that, but a lot of times they're underpinned with lattice work and things like that that aren't really the same color, but are attractive, but
Well, and
do we need to say that?
I don't think you can have lattice work, can you?
I don't care, I'm just wondering, when we say same material and color, if we,
well, here I will tell you, prime example of that situation right there is if you brick it, if your underpinning is brick, it doesn't match your walls. If your underpinning is metal, not every color is available in metal, and some people use their underpinning on some of the newer, nicer mobile homes in this town as an accent.
yeah.
So I think we have to be very careful of
The color.
matching material
just put
and
the
color.
back up, because there's underpin.
Yeah.
I do too, I was
That's
concerned
why-
about that, I just put what was already in there on that
So
part.
period after underpinning,
Here, that's underpin.
On all sides.
of all sides.
Okay, can we jump to number 7? Any questions, observations on number 7?
How can we do number 7? Somebody's gonna buy a home in Texarkana or Atlanta, Texas, or something like that, does that mean David has to travel over there and inspect it?
And that's certainly something I wondered about, on saying it's inspected prior to being moved on to the intended site, that was the case, and this other one, I don't, like
Well,
I say.
Jeff had a good point, he said, how can you, you don't inspect a home when you buy it from somebody else, and you don't come and inspect it.
I don't see how you can do that. Okay, number 7. Okay, therefore,
What would you like to do?
I don't know that he could do, I don't know that he has the right to do that, okay?
But at a minimum, I think we need A in there somewhere.
I think A ought to be in there.
It's a standalone statement.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Well, most of the rest of these things, some of them anyway, the bathroom and mechanical, I mean, even when you say mechanical working, that opens a can of worms, but some of these other things would come in the inspection you would do.
Not inside the home. Yeah, he basically, from outside the home to the city, utilities, okay?
Yeah, I don't see how you tell somebody what
I-
they can
you
do right
can't.
on the inside.
Okay, so we're gonna state number 7 really is number A.
Are you gonna have B, C, and D on there too?
No.
You can leave
No.
those.
Number 7 would read, the home shall be manufactured no longer than 10 years prior to the date of the work, or manufactured no earlier than 10 years prior to the date of
So it
the
should be 10 years old. Or younger.
Okay, number 8 then seems to be irrelevant, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay, number 9,
Again, I will say, I think that is a Roseville question.
I don't, again, how do you inspect that? I I don't know that that's your authority.
I'm not sure either.
Okay?
Cause that's the inside of their house.
For now, let's deal with this with number 9 excluded totally, and you can continue this discussion with Mr. Bell, all right?
On a new home construction, there are some interior things that you do inspect that have to meet code, but, you know, I realize maybe not all of these. Arthur?
In the kitchen, I do not inspect that any of the equipment is operable.
Flat.
In the bathroom, yes.
Okay.
I do make sure that the tub works, the toilet flushes, and everything's hooked up correctly.
Yes, he does.
And that will continue no matter what this is.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So,
I have no dispute in anything with it. Look at your sample ordinance. What I think we're stating is that, the items that, Les has given us here, and I'm gonna say they're items 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7A only. Those items that are stated there basically, would be, inserted under A, okay? And then as we turn the page to, B is in boy, page 2, manufactured home parts. In reading this, I had no dispute on anything that was here, okay? So, what I would like to see, if we do move toward passing an ordinance to be recommended to the city council, but tonight would be to basically scratch anything under item A, section 22-152, under item A, insert the items we just discussed, and then leave item B to the end of the trail alone.
3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 under A, that works. Our amended stuff,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And one other thing I just thought of, and if David can tell us, according to what other regulations. If I'm not mistaken, if a mobile home dealer is moving in a new mobile home, he has, what are his requirements? We haven't dealt with tie downs in this at all. My understanding, a new mobile home, the manufacturer, installer is going to have some requirements. Is he not?
There is a state of Arkansas rules and regulations for mobile homes and recreational vehicle parks.
I'm talking about not in R2 zoning or 3 zoning.
Let me rephrase that. I ran it together. It is in Arkansas rules and regulations against mobile homes and mobile home and recreational parks, recreational vehicle parks in there. And
Against what?
it describes how they're to be set up, tied down, everything.
All right.
And that is what that manufacturer has to go by.
Mobile home dealer has requirements on tie down.
Yes.
Private individual
Yes.
do not.
No, if you put one up, you are to go by the state of Arkansas rules and regulations.
So,
The
if I buy one,
the mover ties it down.
okay.
Generally.
All right, so you feel like we're safe
Yes.
in protecting the other neighborhoods from flying mobile homes, in a storm, like what
To
was
the
already
best
in
of our ability.
It's
we
standard
are-
procedure in time now.
Yes.
I would move to adjourn this, or move to, table this topic for the next meeting, give us a chance to retype this clean and appropriately to be able to present it in motion.
A
I
second,
think
yes.
that's where I think most everybody seems to be in agreement with. Again, let's retype exactly what we stated tonight, okay? I'll get with you, you want me to do a rough draft, I'll get it to you, whatever we need
I
to do.
think I got it, but we'll,
Okay, again, you and I will, what's the word, edit, along the way. Ma'am? That too. And then present it at our next meeting.
We have a copy of it
send that out really with our minutes, okay? That'd be a good thing. Okay, so we can review all of that, everybody be ready to go. We have a move to table, we have a second, all in favor of tabling this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Better not be.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Sir?
One other thing, a few months ago, the commission, passed a temporary restriction on new manufactured home permits. Have we resolved this enough to lift that restriction? Is my question.
And we don't have it zoned yet. Unless,
I think once the city council rezones and allows us to restrict, that's not the right word, but to
make all three of it.
make R3 the designated areas for mobile homes, then I think you could move forward with that type of direction, okay? Now, there are other restrictions that we're trying to impose on that, of how that looks, and I would be afraid, okay, to let this out of our hands before too much goes on. So there may be a way, if you give that permit to move forward, which I don't have a problem with. Again, we've delayed people way longer. If they wanna go ahead and move forward with understanding these restrictions will come into play and will be demanded on this new property, okay?
And where they're gonna be, because you don't wanna move them, put them in an R2
Right.
and move them out.
But I think the city council, will they not take this up next week? I don't know, whenever that time.
It's sooner than our meeting, but,
Okay.
so, if, let me understand you right. If someone currently came to me who wished to put a mobile home in an existing R3 location, understanding the current topics being discussed, I could go ahead and issue the building permit.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just make sure I understand, it's not an art that we're changing.
Right.
Correct.
Because there was a-
Correct.
There were exceptions.
Yes.
The second motion. Yes.
But if it is an R3 that is not changing,
Get after it.
okay,
So this, what we've done here tonight will go for refinement, and then it will go to the city attorney, and, or at some point go to him, and then it will go
That would be a good idea.
mailed to us, but it will go to the city council without any further action on our part. No, it'll come back to us at our next meeting
That's
or
correct. That's correct.
special meeting.
You have the right of refusal of the edited new ordinance, okay? So we will discuss that and look at that in its entirety. If we so approve, then it would move on to the city council.
Well, I'm just saying, it's not gonna make it to the next city council meeting. We don't meet again until
No.
after they do. It'll be the-
not with
That was
currently
intent.
tabling, it will not.
What will make it to the next city council is the rezoning and the movement of designation, I can never get that word out, designation of manufactured homes in R3.
Will the city not have to have a public hearing on
Did
the
you
zone?